Hello, everyone, and welcome to this audio podcast. This audio podcast as part of a Peritubular scope series. This audio podcast as part of a Spectre compass. This audio podcast as part of a Brigadier orbit, and this audio podcast as part of a Storm Robotics production. So, as part of this, in around this, as part of this, and in around this audio podcast, a little bit around the sort of the conclusion aspects to peer-reviewed works and peer-reviewed and published works from 2012, 2012. So it is interesting. It is interesting or intriguing to find that a total of 140 peer-reviewed papers were identified between PubMed and EBSCO host databases and search engines surrounding coping, putting all the sort of main terminologies into one single PubMed or PubMed Central and Medline search, i.e., conducting the searches 1 through 6, reveal no results, and this limitation and this is the limitation in utilizing had been the limitation in utilizing PubMed and EBSCO host database search engines. Also of intrigue is that coping theories and models many generally have a sort of retrospectively have focused on a psychology based ethos, and this is quite peculiar since there have been physiological descriptions which have not been emphasized. Unequivocally, coping, adaptation, and mechanisms inside with the PNI, the psychoneuroimmunology concept are topics to contemplate in prospectively for further understanding. This peer reviewed works concludes more research is required to identify and produce a symbiotic sort of model or theory between psychology and physiology and efforts should collaborate across disciplines or specialties. This and where across disciplines and specialties. Selly's or Hans Selye's principles around the general adaptation syndrome model and theory provides a useful organizing framework for understanding the physiological processes involved in the stress illness relationship. So a bit to read, to read the works and reread the works, and understand the works around the models and theories around Walter Cannon from 1929, Hans Selye's works around 1936, George Solomon's works, George Solomon, sorry, George, around George Engel's works from George Engel's biopsychosocial model from 1977, and sort of works around around the works around Folkman's positive emotions works from 1980, 1985, and 1997, George Solomon and Rudolf Moo's works in around 1964, and in around Lazarus's works around harm, threat, and challenge in 1966, and literature surrounding the diathesis stress model and psychoneuroimmunology concept. And so, to understand coping and well-being in entirety, models and theories require further exploration or understanding and scrutinizing accordingly. That draws this audio podcast to a close. This audio podcast is part of a Peritubular scope series. This audio podcast as part of a Spectre compass. This audio podcast as part of a Brigadier orbit, and this audio podcast as part of a Storm Robotics production.